Hi, friends. I hope that y'all are having an incredible Wednesday. My name is Idara Ekpoh. I'm going to be your host for today for today's pro tip. So I hope that y'all are excited. I am. If you are in the chat, please go ahead and drop where you are joining us from. I am joining from sunny, hot, kind of not as bad as it usually is, not summertime yet, but sunny, hot Arizona. Marcy's also from Phoenix, Arizona. Whoa, that's really exciting. So welcome in, y'all. I'm really excited to talk about a new feature in Photoshop that I have been utilizing. You have the opportunity to create adjustment presets in Photoshop. So if you haven't already utilized it, this was a feature that was in there, but now you have the opportunity to take it a step further by creating your presets. So as a photographer, presets are like such a game changer for me, just because they really allow for me to keep consistency throughout a set of images. So we have this portrait here that I shot from like a fun vintage shoot that I did back in December, and this was the final image. Now I will give a disclaimer that this was edited in both Lightroom and Photoshop and things of that nature. So I won't be going and trying to recreate this specific edit. I just love it so much that any opportunity I have to plug it in, I'm going to. But we're gonna go ahead and start from the raw image and see how we can utilize creating our own presets. So we see if we can create a consistent edit for other photo images that were coming from this specific set. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm seeing, let's see, I'm seeing someone joining from rainy, cloudy, kind of warmish DC, Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome in, y'all. Paloma said, beautiful photo. Thank you so much. But really excited. So we're just gonna go ahead and hop right in because we only have about 25 minutes or so. So I don't want to waste any of our time. So this is the raw image. And before I put this into Photoshop, I did kind of make some basic edits and like the exposure. I think I made a little bit with the white balance contrast, not much, but this is pretty much the raw image. And so the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is just duplicate your background. Oh, not that. So I'm going to drag this down, duplicate. That way, I just like to have a duplicate background just in case if I'm making any skin edits or things of that nature and I want to go back and I don't want to impact the original file, or original layer, excuse me, I can keep that separated. So we're going to go ahead and keep that there. Then you want to, the star of the show is going to be our adjustments window. Now, if you don't have it up, I had it up, but I closed it. You're going to go ahead and go up to window and click on adjustments, and then bam, it's gonna pop up for you right here. And then this, oh, Cody said, love the monochrome neutral tones in this image. Girl, me too, okay? I love, sorry to yell, but I love that was called out. I am a neutral girly through and through. I love warm and neutral tones. So that just made me really excited. So that's why I got a little ecstatic there. But yeah, so you're going to go ahead and open up this adjustments panel, and you're going to see that you have adjustment presets. These are presets that are already in here for you. If you haven't had the opportunity to like kind of explore and look into them, you can. We're not going to play around with any of these on this stream. But if I wanted to, like, I kind of like the way that warmth looks. There is moody blues, a classic black and white, which is really nice if you want to make a black and white image, darker, brighter. These are for portraits. And then you also have adjustments that you can make for specific presets for landscape, photo repair, creative, black and white, and cinematic. So I really think that this is great as an opportunity to just kind of find like a starting point for your image. Now, when I think about presets, that's what that is for you. It's just your starting point. It's not meant to be like the end all be all, but if maybe you need a little bit of direction for a photo, you can utilize the adjustment presets that are already given to you within Photoshop. So in that way you can kind of start somewhere. And then if you clicked on it, let's say I wanted to do black and white and I kind of liked the feel of this black and white. I clicked on this adjustment preset here, and it already went ahead and opened up the adjustments for me. You can see each individual layer with the black and white photo filter and black and white warm. And if I wanted to go in and then make any adjustments, I could go ahead and click on the adjustment layer and make any additional adjustments if need be to kind of tailor it a bit more to my image. So that is one example of how you can utilize the adjustment presets. And these, again, are the presets that are already given to you in Photoshop. So I'm going to delete these because that's not what we're doing today. We're instead going to focus on how can you create your own presets. So if you've updated your Photoshop to the newest version, you should see this option now to create your own preset. So this is really great because not only do you get to, you don't have to stay restricted to, the presets that Photoshop is giving you, but you can create your own. So that way, if you have, let's say you're shooting a wedding or just you had a portrait session and you're finding that the lighting and kind of setup in each of the shots are very similar, you can create a preset so that way you can utilize them on multiple images. So that's what we're going to do now. So where your save says create your own presets, first add adjustments to your project, then choose the adjustments you want from the layers panel and select the plus button. So that's how you're going to create the preset. So I'm going to scroll down and see where it says single adjustments. We got hue and saturation, brightness, contrast, curves, levels, color balance, black and white, exposure, vibrance, selective color, photo filter, gradient map, etc., etc., etc. I got tired of reading. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with brightness and contrast. I might want to brighten it up a little bit. Let me see if there's any questions. I think we're good right now. Nope. So I'm going to go ahead and just play around. And the kind of editor I am, photo editor I am, I don't really have a science to anything. I don't have like a routine. Like some people are like, I always do X, Y, and Z first. The first thing I will say I always do is deal with like the basic adjustments like brightness, contrast. Some of that I already did before I inputted this, before I fully inputted this image into Photoshop, but I might want to increase this exposure just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit, play around with the contrast. And sometimes I just kind of move the slider back and forth to see where does my eye feel like I want it to fall. Do I want to pull back a little bit or do I want to pull it up? I'm going to pull back because I feel like pulling it up just makes the skin a little bit overly saturated, which I don't want. I just want to pull it back a little bit. And I like that before and after. So very subtle, but just a slight change there, okay? Adjustments, let's go back to the adjustments panel and let's see what I can do next. Let's go to levels. Let's play around with levels. So you have, usually when I'm doing levels, I stay in the RGB. You can go to the specific colors of like red, green, or blue channels if you would like to. I might play around with that just for, again, this is just to play around to see what we can get. So I'm going to pull back from the mid-tones a little bit. Perfect there. Do I want to pull down? Nope, I don't want to do that. Then let's go to reds. I think there's a little bit of red in this image. So I'm going to see what we can just kind of play around with here. Yeah, what does that look like? Very subtle, but I like kind of like, when it's added to the contrast, the shadows in the photo. I'm going to leave the blues alone. Come back to adjustments. Let's see. So we've done, so far, let's turn these off. We've done our brightness and contrast. We've gone ahead and done a little bit with our levels. Let's see, you can create a curve layer if you want. I don't create curve layers as often. I still, even with how long I've been editing in Photoshop, still kind of struggle with this, but I always tend to go towards the S curve. So that way you have your highlights, midtones, and your shadows. And it's just another way to kind of tone your image. So I usually make a point in the middle, the top, middle, and bottom, and then kind of go to making a little bit of an S. My S, I feel like always looks a little raggedy, just a wee bit, but it's just more of again, you're just playing around with your eye and seeing where you want it to fall. But that's a little bit too, stop right there. Yeah, I like that. And I do feel like it's overly, I don't like the saturation in her skin. So I'm gonna come here to hue and saturation, just pull back a little bit in saturation. Do I want to do anything with lightness? No, I don't. Let's go to reds because I think she'll have some red tones in her skin. And let's see if I want to adjust these tones a little bit. So I'm just coming in here, see that before and after. So I feel like this before is a little bit more overly saturated. I feel like we toned that down a little bit, which is what I like. I'm gonna go ahead and start to put this all in a group. And we're gonna call this color, let's call it color toning / grading. Can I put a slash in there? Yeah, beautiful. So that way I can show y'all the before and the after. Let me zoom in a little bit as well. Let's go to like a 30. Yeah, that way you guys can really be up close and personal and see all of that. So that's the before and the after. Now, the other thing I want to point out is I probably during this stream we're just focusing on creating the preset. And with creating the preset is, again, that color toning, color grading. With an image like this, some additional steps I would do is do some skin editing. You guys can see that she has her skin is honestly perfect. But if I wanted to clean up these small little bumps down here, I could. If I wanted to do some dodging and burning to bring out the highlights and pull back the shadows a bit more in her face, I could. Some things that you'll see that were different between the before and after. I did, clean up the deodorant here in her armpit. I believe I cleaned up the scar, and then she was wearing like a tube top. And the way that I wanted it to look, I wanted it to be clean. I didn't really like how that tube top is kind of peeking through. You can see the white here. So you'll see in the final image here, let's see, I took that out just because I wanted it to be completely clean. So those are just specific things that I did to kind of clean up the image. And I also did clean up her hair. As you can see, that she has some flyaways here. So I did focus on cleaning that up just to have a more sleek and cleaner image. But again, those are adjustments that I would make separately. Those aren't adjustments that I would put into a preset per se, because again, it's not going to be the same per image. Each photo is going to be a different angle. There's going to be a different thing to touch up. So touching up is going to be separate from you creating your actual preset. So I want to make that clear as well. All right, cool. So we've done some hue and saturation. Saw that before and after. Let's see what's up. What else is in here? I think exposure is fine. I did the brightness. I didn't even know that. Actually didn't see. Exposure is honestly perfect. I don't need to do anything with exposure, but if I wanted to, there's an option for that. This is my bread and butter. We're going into my favorite adjustment layer, okay? Selective color. This is a game changer. If you really want to get into color grading on your images, this is my favorite layer to use, because you really can separate each color in the image. So if you have reds in your image, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magentas, whites, neutrals, and black, you can really click on one of the images and then edit the cyans that are in your reds or the magenta, or make it more yellow, black, whatever you choose to do. You have so much flexibility and freedom at this portion of your editing to really take your color grading and just like kick it up a notch. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the reds. I usually start off with reds or yellows, depending on the complexion of my subject, just because reds and yellows and oranges are what tend to be in our skin tones. Regardless of, what race background you are, those are the three general colors that if you want to adjust somebody's skin complexion to make it, more like what they look like in person, or, you have an artistic feel or whatever you want to do, those are the three colors that you're going to focus on. So here, obviously you see reds and yellows. In Lightroom, you can there's like with the HSL sliders, there's reds, yellows, and oranges where you can kind of focus on editing the hue, saturation, and luminance. Here, you're more so editing the colors within the reds. So if there's any cyans within the reds, if I'm moving this back and forth, you would see it change her skin. So this is kind of like removing that cyan, so it's making her skin more red, and then it's adding the cyan, so it's making her skin look more blue. So you can kind of just adjust it back and forth. I don't want her to look more red, so I'm gonna pull and add some cyans there. Magenta, same thing. If I wanted to remove the magenta, it's making her more green. It's doing the opposite. If I wanted to add more magenta, it will make it more purple, right? More magenta. So I want to add a little bit of magenta, not too much, but just like if my mouse will let me. Come on. Okay, just like right there. Just a tad bit, okay? Same thing with yellow. If I wanted to remove, it's removing the yellow, making her skin more of that blue, magenta, purple type. If I want to add yellow, it's making her more like warm and yellowish. So I know I kind of felt like her skin was very warm in the beginning. So I'm not going to add, I'll just pull back a little bit. And then same thing with black, you can remove the blacks, you can actually add to the blacks, which I usually like to add a little bit just to kind of kick up the contrast. And if you felt like it was too much, you can also come over here to where you see opacity and fill and lower the opacity if you felt that that was necessary. So that is, again, it's very, very slight. The difference that you'll see in here, I can see it, but I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. But I kind of am fine with where her skin complexion is. There's yellows in here. I can play around to see if there's any yellows in the skin. Let's see. Okay, yes, there are some yellows in the skin, obviously. So I don't want to add any yellow. I don't like how that looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull back a little bit to see what that looks like. Same thing with magentas. You can play back and forth with this. Yellows, pull back, and then black and white if you felt like doing that as well. If my mouse wants to grab the slider, my goodness, what's going on? Okay, cool. So let's stop there. Now, my favorite color to do in selective color is whites. I tend to shoot, because I shoot a lot of neutral portraits. I love neutrals. I usually have some kind of white variation or like just whites. And also like this is going to focus on adding color to your highlights as well. So you'll see some whites. This color will be added to like the white in her eyes, a little bit in her skin, her pearls, the table, a little bit of the background. Now, if I didn't want that to happen, if I only wanted to adjust the whites in her pearls, then I could select, do the edit and then kind of remove the edit on every other area of the photo that I wouldn't want it on there. I'm going to keep it just for purposes. I'm going to keep it pretty general for the entire image. So then that way it can copy and paste to the other photos that we have as well. So I'm going to go ahead, come here to the white. So what we can do here, I'm going to add some cyans there. I really like how that's already starting to look. Magenta, I like to add like I don't know, like pulling back on the magentas makes like this vintagey kind of vibe. Oh, yes, pull up the yellows a little bit. It's just the tones are just so nice. Like look at that before and after. Like I feel like the tones are more of that greenish, bluish type of feel. I tend to fall into that as a photographer. That's like my editing style. And then if you wanted to do neutrals, you could. I tend to not do neutrals as often. I tend to leave that alone. And then same thing with blacks. If you wanted to add color into the shadows of your photo, you could do that. I love to do that as well, just to actually add some grading. That's where we really see like the tones come through. Like even just like with slight edits like that, I'm already seeing the tones changing. And if I felt like it was too much, again, I could pull back on the opacity so it'd be a little bit more settled into her skin. Cody said, yeah, the golden green tones make it more vintage-like. Yep, I'm a vintage girly. I don't know why I tend to fall into that with my edits, but that's where I usually fall. So we've done that. I'm going to stop with the adjustment layers. If I wanted to do more, there's all these other layers I could create for my single adjustments. So this is the before and this is the after with our edits. Now it's time to create the actual preset. So what you're going to do, you want to go ahead and click on and highlight each of the adjustment layers. So you can see that all of these layers here on the right-hand side are now selected. Then I'm going to come to where it says your presets, and I'm going to click on the plus, and it's going to give me the option to name my preset. So I'm going to name it Vintage Preset 1. And I usually like to, if I have like, I usually do preset 1, preset 2. If there's different vibes or edits or presets I'm going to create, that way I can kind of categorize it. Like these are for vintage shoots, like this is a vintage vibe, but different tones and things of that nature that give that same kind of feeling. All right, so we've created the preset. Now we're going to go to our other image here. Again, this was shot in the same setup. Lighting was the same. Especially because I shot this in studio, lighting doesn't change because it's this was all artificial light. We didn't have any natural light, really barely any natural light coming into the space. So I was able to control the light to keep it consistent. This is going to be different if you're shooting outside and it's sunny or cloudy, or a cloud covers up the sun, but it was sunny at the beginning of your shoot. Those are things to take into consideration with how a preset is going to sit on your image. If the way the lighting was in the moment, changes throughout the shoot. If you change locations, if you move the light, let's say the sun is your source and you move your model around and it's changing the way the sun and the light is hitting your model's face, those things are all going to come into play with how your preset is going to sit on the image, right? So again, it's not a one size fits all, but if you are in a situation where like the lighting is pretty similar, you'll be fine, but you still try to tailor everything to that specific image. So I clicked on the next image in the set. Here's my business preset. I'm just going to click on it like that and bam, my preset is there. There's the before. This is the before and this is the after, just quick and easy like that. And if I wanted to go and make any additional adjustments, maybe I felt like it was too overexposed. And let's say I wanted to pull back, like the brightness and contrast was a little bit too much. I could pull back if need be to kind of bring down that exposure, add a little bit more contrast, do whatever I need to do to kind of adjust this preset. Come on, click on it. Adjust this preset to this specific image. And then going to my last image, just to give you all another example, gonna go back to the adjustments panel. Again, my preset has been saved, so it's there, and then bam. So it saves you so much time. I'm just so excited that this was a feature that's added into Photoshop now, because before you couldn't like save it as a preset. You could always kind of highlight, right click, duplicate the layers, and then click what document or photo you wanted to duplicate the layers to. But those are a couple of steps that you would have to do to kind of move edits amongst photos. Whereas now you can just save everything into a preset and it keeps everything just simple and easy like that and helps you kind of create a consistent look amongst your images. So I'm going to make these a little bit bigger so that way we can kind of see. Please let me know if you have any questions in the chat. We have about 2-3 minutes left. We're getting towards the end of this pro tip, but I want to encourage y'all to utilize this adjustment preset in Photoshop. Create your own presets, kind of go crazy and see what you can create. And if you're shooting projects where you have so many different shots and you need to have consistent editing, this is what's going to help you save time. It's going to save you so much time. It's going to keep everything consistent. It's going to just kind of add to your editing, sessions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm the kind of person that likes to save time. If I can save time, it's going to be great. And so you can already see how I did take some time to kind of create the first preset and get everything where I wanted it to be. And if I wanted to go a little bit further and be more kind of specific in certain areas, I could. This was just for a matter of time. And then you can just see how quickly we were able to take the exact same edits and move them over to each image. So now it's looking consistent as a project, which is really important as a photographer. If you are shooting a project, you want it to look consistent amongst the images. Let's see. Playing with the settings and adjustments, I would add an extra layer to print a special Pantone gold to bring out the shine of the big magazine photo. Absolutely. And so whatever you want to do, you can really take it a step further and really kind of add as much as you want to add, do less if you feel like you already have a great image and you don't have to do too much color toning, color grading, etc. But you have that freedom. And that's what I love with creating my own presets, is that you have that freedom to do so. So if y'all have any questions, comments, and concerns, please do let me know. You will be able to refer back to this live. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I don't know if we can put my website or Instagram on there in case there's any questions. But yes, play around with these adjustment presets, create your own presets, play around with the adjustment presets that Photoshop already gives you, and just happy editing. I would love to see what you guys are able to create, what it comes together, and how you're really able to bring your images to life. So that is all for me. I will catch y'all next time. Make sure you guys go ahead and stay tuned for the next streams that are coming up. I believe that we have Bring the Stories That Inspire You to Life with Torrin Reeves next. So go ahead and stay tuned, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.